Good evening and welcome to Conversations with a Commissioner. Tonight, our special guests are District 2 Commissioner Nancy Sharpe and Arapahoe County Director of Human Services Cheryl Turnus. These conversations are regular events that we do every quarter for each commissioner to talk to their constituents in their respective districts. And the idea is to bring you up to date on the latest county business and to, in this case, do a deeper dive into one of our departments. And today that'll be Human Services, which of course is one of our biggest and busiest departments, and certainly in the past year has had an incredible number of challenges that they've met time and again. So I'll be happy to hear about that. To give you a little how this works outline, if you are on the phone and want to ask a question of either of our panelists, you can dial *3 and that'll put you through to an operator, and they will take your question and put you in the queue. And once we open it up after a brief slide presentation, you'll be able to get your questions answered. We have a basic COVID update, but we don't have a lot of in-depth COVID information for you since there are no medical experts on this call, but we'll do our best to answer the questions that you do have around that. And in addition to that, we'll be updating you on the latest county business and projects that we're working on as we get into the middle part of the year. Once again, we hope to do these in person as soon as it's safe to do so. But we're really glad to have you join us tonight. So thank you very much. And I will hand it off to Commissioner Sharpe.
Thank you, Luke. And thank you so much to everybody for being with us tonight. And we hope that you'll find this a good session and very helpful. And we just want to make sure, that this is conversational, and we'll take some questions. But also, if you have any questions afterwards, I'll give you my email address, and Cheryl will do the same. So thanks again for joining us. And we'll go to the first slide. Thank you, Luke. Okay, one of the things that we've been certainly living with for more than the last year is COVID. And I feel very hopeful that we are on the downhill slide of being able to return to normal. And whatever that might be I think it's going to mean different things to different people. So as many of you all know, Tri-County Health has determined there are health department in Adams, Arapahoe, and Douglas counties, and they represent the Colorado Department of Health and Environment, but also can have their own rules and here in the three counties. So just real quickly, the public health order for Tri-County expires May 16th. And actually the end of the 15th, and so effective the 16th, we go to what is now being called kind of clear, which means everything opens as normal. And no social distancing in restaurants and that kind of thing. The only thing, and that will last for, I think it says on slide 90 days, but the only thing we just want to make sure that you know is it does not, Tri-County Health still has a mask, and the governor still has a mask mandate. I think the governor's is until June 2nd, and Tri-County Health will make a decision on any sort of face covering mandate probably next week, and see if it will go along with the state order or extend beyond that. So I'm hopeful that we will go with the governor's extension through June 2nd. That gets us through the school year. And then it will be up to all of us to do what we feel comfortable with when we go to restaurants, when we go to the grocery store, when we go out, in any sort of business. Wearing a face covering is what we have to do to make ourselves feel comfortable, whether it's a mandated issue or not. That's I think the message of going forward. And all of this will be, certainly based on best practices. Vaccines, I think in the county now, we are probably at about 50% of the individuals have received in Arapahoe County have received the first vaccine, and some even more, a higher number received the second vaccine. So we're doing really well. We certainly know that there are pockets of individuals where we need to do more. We have had a discussion about actually bringing more clinics or mobile units to certain areas where people may not have access, or maybe it's a community center, maybe it's a library, maybe there are things in certain areas where it's more convenient and easier access for individuals to get vaccinated than what's been there. But there's plenty of vaccine in most places today. You don't even need an appointment. You can walk up. But if you have any questions, I would say access Tri-County Health, the Tri-County Health website, and that's tchd.org. And they have all the vaccination sites on there, and we'll have more specifics, or go through your medical advisor. So I think that more to come, certainly on vaccines, and hoping to, by summer, we'll really, people will be out more in the outdoors, and a lot to look forward to after a very difficult more than a year. So next slide, please. So Arapahoe County in 2021, we know that we have had, we're a Tabor county, controlled county. And so we have had to, for many, many years now, watch our expenses, just like we all have to do personally. And our board spent a lot of time last year going through a strategic planning process. And the purpose of that is to help us prioritize. And so when money is tight, we all know we have to prioritize. We're going to do this or we're going to do that, but maybe we can't do both, or maybe we can't do as much of each one. So that's what our board and other elected officials have been in the process of doing. And it really is, it's been a great process. Lots of collaboration across the county from our other elected offices, as well as our departments, and really taking a look at what could be reduced and or eliminated, and what do we really need to keep so that we do the best for all of our residents across the county. So this is a property tax assessment year. Most of you all have probably already gotten, I know I've gotten mine, property tax assessment. I've already gotten a number of calls from people who are concerned that their home property tax assessment has gone up. And I would just say, that I got a letter, and I think we all did, but there are no in-person meetings if you are going to protest or object to the increase in your value. Most people are not going to, there's a decrease, they're not going to say anything, which is good. But if there's an increase, you have to do that before the end of June. So or the end of May. So just want to encourage you to, I'm looking here at the letter that came out, and everybody needs to schedule an appointment for an appeal. And the number there to call is 303-795-4600. And you can request a phone appointment as well, and all of that information. And if you have is on our on our Arapahoe County website, and go to the assessor's office tab, and you'll be able to find all the information. The strategic plan process is one thing that I've talked about, and as part of that are all of our county processes. Most of what the county does is mandated by the state, and Luke's going to give you a little County 101 here in just a minute about how the counties work, which are a little bit different than cities, having come from being an elected official in a city. That's something that we are different in how we operate and being an arm of the state. So Luke's going to talk about that in just a bit. One of the things I did want to talk about, which I'm very excited about, and I'm hoping that over the last more than a year, we've been using our outdoor spaces a lot. And this year, we are going to bring back to the voters a reauthorization of our open spaces tax. And it's a 1/4 cent sales tax. And it's been one of our most popular programs. 50% of everything that comes in is shared back with the cities, with another additional percent that is through grants. So that's automatically shared back with the cities, and then an additional portion is the counties or the cities and special districts can apply for grant funding that is matched by open space dollars. Then there's a Heritage Foundation, a heritage piece that goes to our county fair, and our 17 Mile House for the 2 heritage areas that we have in Arapahoe County. So to make, keep those places really a place where we can all go and visit and have certainly out at the fairgrounds, a lot of events. So look forward to hearing more about that, and we hope we can have your support. It's a very small, as a 1/4 cent. It's a very small tax, and I know we don't like taxes, but it goes to a great benefit for all of us that I know over the last year, more than a year, we've certainly enjoyed because we had to be outside more. Which leads me to the 2021 county fair. And we are going to have a full fair, and I'm going to look here and make sure I give you the right date. The dates are July 22nd to the 25th. And start checking online. You'll be able to be buying tickets very soon. But we're really looking forward to, we had to cancel last year, and we're looking forward to a great event this year. It's always loads of fun. And it's going to be, I know, even better this year. And again, being outdoors and being able to be with friends, family, neighbors will be a great event. All kinds of things available. So look forward to that. The last thing on this slide is the American Rescue Plan, and some of you all have probably heard, heard, pardon me, that I get choked up because it's a lot of money that's coming to counties and cities across the country. And we don't have specific guidance on how that money can be used yet, the full extent of how that funding could be used. And we will be coordinating with our cities. We've just talked about that again today on how best we can coordinate with our cities. Some of the things that in a separate dollar amount that's coming as part of that, but as a separate, has been some rent assistance for individuals, and we actually have this program in Arapahoe County for businesses that because of COVID, they had to close down, but they still had to pay their rent and lease fees. And so we were able to put together a program in Arapahoe County that helped our businesses, small businesses, to actually, the money either went to the bank or went to the landlord, not to the business itself, to keep them so that when we come out of this and we can get back to our clear status here, hopefully in another few weeks, those businesses will still be there for us, our favorite stores, our favorite restaurants, and all the ones that we want to support at a local level will be there. So stay tuned on the ARPA, I guess is what we always have to have an acronym for something, but that's the American Rescue Plan. And it is it's a lot of money that will come to us this year and next year, and we want to make sure that that money is spent thoughtfully and wisely, because we understand that the debt is national debt. This is part of the national debt that our children and grandchildren are going to inherit. And whether we think it's the right thing or not, um, the money will be coming to cities and counties, and we need to be very thoughtful about how that money is spent. So, and I can guarantee you that we will be. So, next slide, please. So, challenges and opportunities. Last year, through the CARES funding, the county received $114.5 million from that CARES funding, and 45% of that was distributed to the cities and went to help businesses, and went to help. And I'm hoping that Cheryl Turnus, I'm going to introduce our Human Services Director in just a minute, we'll talk about some of the programs that when people were unemployed, all the benefits that we are helping them with, not only to get back to work, but with food, with rent assistance, and things like that during a very, very difficult time when many people lost their jobs. And so that was a primary focus for us during that process, is to take care of a lot of individuals who were having tremendous difficulty. So that program kind of closed out. We did have a little bit of money left over that we are continuing to spend on supporting our businesses and our residents. So that will continue on, and we'll continue to put that out in publications. In 2021, this year, we are using some of that remaining money to continue to do testing. And the testing numbers, as you could imagine, have dropped off. The COVID testing, that is, have dropped off significantly as more and more people get vaccinated. And that's the other thing we're focusing on, as I mentioned earlier, is how to bring vaccine to make it more convenient, for more accessible and more convenient for everyone to be able to access, should they want to do that. Understand that not everybody is going to want to get vaccinated, but we want to make sure that everybody who wants to has access to the vaccine. The other thing is the housing and food security and rent and mortgage assistance. I sort of talked about those, and Cheryl can talk about those a little bit more as she does her presentation. We've had webinars on job fairs, skills classes, these programs for veterans and seniors. And if you are in a position where you are needing to look for work or want to look for a different position, I cannot suggest more emphatically that contact AD Works. It's Arapahoe Douglas Workforce Center, and our center is over off of south of Arapahoe on Lima Street. And they're all but there's so much that's done virtually now, and gives us greater access to many more people than everybody having to come in. And so look for that. I think we will certainly be continuing on with those programs as we go forward, because we know getting people back to work is essential, not only for their own happiness and well-being and the ability to support themselves and their families, but for our economy, the ongoing health of our economy as well in Arapahoe County and in general in Colorado. So I would just encourage you. I'm going to conclude here and pass it off to Luke, but I think arapahoegov.com, you can get a lot of additional information there. We are trying our best to make our website as easy to use and as easily available for you to access information as well. So Luke, why don't you go ahead, please?
All right, thank you, Commissioner. And just a quick note there: we are trying to make our website a lot more accessible and usable. It's definitely a work in progress, and we hear that all the time. But we appreciate your feedback regardless. So I want to talk a little bit about County 101, which is an ongoing project. It's new, but it will be ongoing. About that we're trying to do to sort of alleviate some of the confusion that people have about which branch of government or which level of government provides which service. There is a certain amount of overlap depending on what you're doing, and Cheryl's department certainly experiences that. The way that one of our commissioners often puts it is that the state makes the sausage and we serve the sausage. So the idea there is that we are agents of the state in counties, and we do things such as we have elected officials, of course, the county commissioners, the sheriff, the coroner, the treasurer, the clerk and recorder, and assessor. These are all people that have to run for their seats every few years. And we administer and enforce state laws. We collect taxes. We assess properties. We provide business licenses and marriage licenses. We conduct elections and any number of other things. Where confusion kind of arises sometimes is when you live in community X or just outside the community in an unincorporated area. You need to know who to go to get something, to get a question answered or to get a service accomplished, like a cracked road or something like that. In fact, we have a question here in our online queue about Orchard Gate development in Englewood. The answer to that question is a good illustration of County 101, because Englewood is the government that you want to go to get that fixed. If that person happened to live in unincorporated Arapahoe County, then that would be something you would call the county about. You see that all the time with road projects. We have a lot of partnerships, and particularly out in the around East Aurora, as you get out into the rural part of the county, we will do road projects that by necessity, because of where the roads are, might have to have 2, 3, 4 entities involved to get one small, relatively small parcel of land fixed or upgraded or whatever it might be. So the idea that we're doing here, and these conversations are one example of it, is we're trying to just educate everyone a little bit more about what county government does and does not do. That's not to say that you shouldn't ask us a question if you have it. Just today, in fact, we helped a resident who's a landlord in Aurora figure out how she could get some rental assistance. It turned out she had to go to the city of Aurora for that, but we were happy to help, refer her to the right people and the right offices for it. So we definitely encourage you to keep asking questions. We do, as I mentioned, have a lot of partnerships. The commissioner mentioned AD Works, and of course the Tri-County Health Department we've been working very closely with for the last year on the COVID stuff. But it's a pretty expansive and complex web. So we would just encourage everyone to visit our website. We have a special page set up for this. It's arapahoegov.com/county101. And we will be posting more information, articles as they arise that sort of describe the process of what a county does. So hopefully that'll help you in your daily life make a little more progress to get whatever headache you have alleviated. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Commissioner Sharpe, who is going to introduce Cheryl Turnus.
Luke, and for Orchard Gate, and I certainly don't expect Luke to know this, but a lot of unincorporated Arapahoe County uses Englewood as their
okay. Well, there you go.
In unincorporated. So yeah, we would be happy to talk to you about an Orchard Gate. I know that's unincorporated Arapahoe, but it's confusing. I know even over by Centennial Airport, they use Englewood as their address. It's just quite a ways from the city of Englewood. So I don't know how we can fix that. I think I've been working on that for 25 years, and I may have to just give that one up. Because it's actually closer to the city of Centennial, but anyway, so love to, yeah, if we will make sure and get some help for you and get that question answered. I can't see the chat right now, but we'll get that question answered for you. So I'm going to move on and introduce Cheryl Turnus. Cheryl is our Human Services Director in Arapahoe County. Her entire career, 36 years, I know she doesn't look like it. She looks like she's only 36, but has been in the area of human services. She came to Arapahoe County 15 years ago from Jefferson County, and we were thrilled at the time to be able to get her to move over and head our human services department. And Cheryl's leadership, some of the things I can say about Cheryl is that number one is an extremely caring individual, knowledgeable in the programs and how to use the programs to the benefit of our residents that are eligible for those programs, and to make the most of them so that we can continue to provide the services that our residents need. And she's a creative thinker, and she's going to tell you some more about that. She is a Colorado Aspen Institute Children and Families Fellow, and one of 20 fellows invested in advancing solutions to transform Colorado into the best place to have a child and sustain a healthy, thriving family. She's absolutely a valued leader in Arapahoe County, an amazing department director, and her knowledge and experience is valued by all of our other directors, and we just really appreciate all the hard work. I know it's always a tough job, and Cheryl's going to get into it's not just about food and rent. It's child welfare, adult protective services, some really tough things that she and her the people that work in her department have to handle every single day, and they do an amazing job. And so with that, except for one last thing, that Cheryl is now a grandmother, and for the first time. So I'm going to share that with you because there's an adorable grandson, her first grandson. So Cheryl, why don't you go ahead, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nancy. Yes, I am a first-time grandmother, and I'm absolutely thrilled. I will say that all of us from time to time, whether we're parents or grandparents, aunts, uncles, have in raising children, we have encountered times that are difficult, and we all need some extra help or support at different times. And that's part of what we focus on in human services. And so, as individuals sometimes fall on hard times, and of course during the pandemic that was exponential, we saw some significant increases in our workload. So for human services, we have two main divisions, and they're both very large divisions. We serve a very large county, of course. One of the divisions is called Community and Child Support Services, and that division has the important job of providing those basic safety net programs, basic needs such as food and cash and medical assistance, which are often very critical. And of course, during the pandemic, as people were becoming unemployed and were waiting on their unemployment insurance, or they had a decrease in hours and could no longer pay the mortgage or rent and food, needed help. And thankfully, we were very quickly able to transition to working remotely, and really didn't miss a beat in processing those applications that come in electronically. We also, in that division, establish child support orders. We modify child support orders. We help locate parents. We do all of the things necessary in order to make sure that both parents, whether they're custodial or non-custodial, are providing for their children. And in Arapahoe County, we have additional supports and workshops in place to help non-custodial and custodial parents who need help with finding employment, resume writing, parenting skills, even getting parents together through mediation to talk about how they're going to support their children together. Very, very successful and important program. Then we have our other large division, which Nancy mentioned, which is child and adult protection. And our job there is to protect and help those vulnerable families, children, and also at-risk adults. And we have several programs that we offer to do that. And our main goal is to keep families together safely, to keep kids in their homes safely. We can't always do that, and if we can't do that, then we have to take other measures through the court or find relatives that can actually care for the kids while we help the parents solve problems that they may be having or address barriers. We do all of this working with our community. It's very, very important for the Department of Human Services and the county as a whole to make sure that we are collaborating and working with our other nonprofit agencies, with the faith-based community, and with other government agencies to help make sure that we are coordinating to the best extent possible. Human Services cannot be successful alone. We have to do it as a community. In child and adult protection, the pandemic brought additional challenges for parents who are already struggling to provide the necessary educational support for their kids. But then they found themselves in situations where they were having to homeschool their kids. They may have been at the same time struggling financially because of the pandemic. Now they have their children at home. And so we worked really hard to reach out to those families and working with the schools to help provide the needed supports, whether it was supplies or homework help or maybe some respite for the parents, but to provide as much support as possible so that they were safely parenting their children. We did have a lot of concerns because normally when kids are in school, teachers are one of our mandatory reporters, and we get a significant number of reports from teachers who are recognizing that children may be having issues, and they identify possible signs of abuse and neglect and call our hotline. Well, when schools closed, our reports to the hotline reduced significantly, and so that's when we really reached out to the community and put programs and services in place to assist with that. And now that schools are more and more in session, our referrals are increasing. So I think that's a very good sign. But we were very creative in how we connected with families through Zoom, in parks, etc., keeping our caseworkers safe. And I just want to mention too that our caseworkers still were expected to go out and investigate cases of abuse and neglect, regardless of a pandemic happening. So they're considered first responders, and so they still had to go out in the community and do their jobs. And they did a stellar job, just a lot of really good people in the department providing all of these important services. So thank you. Next slide. And these are just our contact numbers that will, our abuse and neglect hotline, 303-636-1750. That takes you directly to the Department of Human Services, or you can call the statewide hotline and they will connect you to Arapahoe County once you identify where the child resides. And that's 1-844-CO4-KIDS. And of course, our main number, you can call that anytime and it will get you to where you need to go in the department, 303-636-1130. And of course, you can email us anytime at humanservices@arapahoegov.com. Thank you.
So Cheryl, to the outside observer, departments like Human Services and Community Resources seem to have a certain amount of overlap. Can you tell us, is there a good way to think about what's the difference between those two departments?
I think human services provides more of the monetary supports in terms of financial assistance, food assistance, medical assistance, those basic things. Community support services helps with, for example, employment through AD Works. Helping with training and finding jobs and resumes, etc. They also have some more significant programs around rental assistance and mortgage assistance, and also they administer the community development block grant, and so they're more about housing. But we're very connected because the people that we serve definitely are often the same. So it's important that we work together.
Right. And you mentioned your extensive network of partnerships. I know that particularly with things like hotel motel vouchers and a few other services like food assistance, you work. We often work with maybe half a dozen or more agencies. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Many agencies. And for instance, the motel hotel voucher program, we connected with the agencies right in the communities that are serving homeless individuals, and they were able to administer those vouchers, get them to the people, to the hotel motel. So connecting with them was very seamless, and they've done a great job. Same situation with the food banks. So issuing, CARES money to those food banks who are seeing that lines of folks needing food had increased very, very significantly. So the county was able to help them out. And, food assistance is not meant to meet all of a family or an individual's food needs. So food banks are critical in normal times. But during the pandemic, wow, I mean, they were really in demand. And so the county was really happy to help with that.
Absolutely. And then, so Commissioner, one of the reasons we paired the two of you together is because you've obviously worked together for many years, but also Commissioner Sharpe is the board liaison to the Human Services Department. So, Commissioner, can you talk a little bit about what that means to be the liaison? Like, what's the week in and week out task that you have to do as the rep for that?
Sure, and I think that's for County 101 and for Arapahoe County 101. The County of Arapahoe does not have a county manager or a county administrator. So the 5 commissioners we have departments that we, like Human Services, and I've been the liaison and fortunate to be the liaison with Human Services for many years now. And what that means is that I work directly with Cheryl, or the department director, just like our other commissioners would work with other department directors. And we're the first point of contact for them. They still come to the board for decision making and that kind of thing, but kind of on a daily basis, we work with them to be aware of issues and that kind of thing if they were to come up sort of sporadically. So that's been really great. I think one of the things and I have to take this opportunity to really thank Cheryl and her team. When she said they didn't miss a beat, they really didn't. It was a hard time, tremendous amount of increased work from people started losing their jobs and all kinds of very difficult situations. And her team really stepped up. And when we had to move out of our offices and people were working from home, we had a few staff that did continue to come in, but a lot of people work from home, and they really just kept going with everything. And this is important work. It's really vital to families in need. And there were a lot of families in need. And so I just want to take an opportunity to thank Cheryl and her team for the great work that they do, not only in the last little more than a year, but always, because it is important work. And these are many times people who are undergoing some sort of traumatic event in their lives, and they need some support. and to get them through it. And it's not always not long term, but need that support. And we have great people working for Arapahoe County. So, and I think too, some of the things that we've been able to get involved in, and I've been fortunate to get involved in, is Cheryl and I and George Brockler, former district attorney for Arapahoe County for the 18th Judicial District, started Not One More Child in Arapahoe County and brought that was to prevent child abuse and neglect, and certainly fatalities, but neglect in general. And what the reason that's been a successful program is we brought a lot of advocates, the faith-based community, churches, our churches, schools, all kinds of foster parent organizations come to our meetings that we have once a quarter, and we talk about the issues that are important, share what they have to say, and so we all learn from what everybody else is doing, so we can provide the best service that we can, and we can try to prevent child abuse and neglect before it comes to Arapahoe County. If there's a need there, maybe we can address that before it becomes a serious or significant problem. So that's been something that's been great. I've had the opportunity to serve on the Child Welfare Allocation Committee, which is there. We get all of the counties in Colorado, all 64 counties, get money from the federal government to provide the programs, support for the programs that Cheryl talked about, and how that money is allocated and based on the need in each county. Our county is very large. We're the third largest county in the state. And you've got some counties that are quite small, but they still have issues that they need to receive funding. So the Child Welfare Allocation Committee determines how that money will be allocated fairly and appropriately across all the counties in the state. And the other committee that I've been able to sit on is it's called the Colorado Works Allocation Committee, and that really deals more with temporary assistance to needy families and helping people to get that temporary assistance, get back to work, how to partially fund some job programs, and which I think is really important. As I talked about earlier, people, when they're working, much more satisfied in life because they can take care of themselves and their families. And that's what the goal is, not to continue on assistance, but to get, for those individuals that can, to get them back on their feet with some help. And I also sit on, and Cheryl and I go to all these meetings together. We're doing it now. Well, it's all virtual now, but in dealing with our legislature, Colorado has a Health and Human Services Committee through Colorado Counties, Inc. And we hear all the legislation that comes up starting in January, and then this year it's going to go till June, unfortunately. But all the legislation that does impact health and human services, and we try to make those bills anything that's legislators come forward with, because oftentimes they do not have the level. They don't have the level of experience and that's what our committee and our directors across the state try to provide, is that practical, if there is some legislation needed, how to write the best bill that's possible that benefits our residents. So those are a couple of things. I wanted to ask Cheryl too, because Cheryl, would you talk about the goals program, which is, we just had Mayor Kaufman from the city of Aurora come out and visit the goals program. And Cheryl, this was Cheryl's brainchild, and really proud of that. And Cheryl, if you would talk to our citizens, our residents about that program.
Sure. So GOAL stands for Generational Opportunities to Achieve Long-Term Success. And it's the first program of its kind in the country. It is a residential program for families experiencing homelessness. And the program is built on a two-generational approach, which means that we serve children and their parents simultaneously. So we're able to provide the parent what they need to be successful, whether that be employment services, maybe there's some mental health issues that need to be addressed, educational issues, etc. We also look at what the children or child is experiencing and what they need to be successful, whether that be help with their educational needs, mental health needs, etc. This program is located in Aurora, and on site we have human services. We have the assistance programs. We have AD Works there as well. We have our caseworkers, child protection caseworkers. We also have our homeless navigators there. And I'm happy to say that we have several community providers also, either locating on site very soon, within the next month or so, or pretty quickly thereafter. Obviously, we're just in the process of kind of reopening things getting closer to being post-COVID. This is a program right now. We have about 13 families residing there, and those families are receiving these various services depending on their needs, with the goal of them exiting the program, and we will actually follow them for up to a year when they exit the program into safe and stable housing. We're also having the program formally evaluated so that we know along the way what's working, what's not working, and we can tweak it. Now, Family Tree actually is an organization that actually owns and operates it, and Arapahoe County has been a major partner, but there are several other also community partners. Again, working with the community is absolutely imperative when we do this work, and the Goals program is a great example of that.
Great. I
And
think you
Cheryl,
have.
sorry, Commissioner. Cheryl, that program is in the process of an evaluation. Can you tell us like how that works and what that's meant to accomplish?
Yeah, so there is, we have a computer program that was actually built by the agency that's doing the formal evaluation. So all of the information and data is entered into the system when they come into the program. And then as the navigators and other partners work with the families, that information is entered in, and then the success of the family is tracked. And then, in terms of who is successful and who isn't, and then following them for that year. So we will know exactly how successful we are with the families that we're serving. It's a 3-year evaluation. Now it's going to, because of COVID, we actually lost a year, so it's going to be, technically it will go on for 4 years.
Okay.
I want to leave enough time because we're almost out of time. But Luke, do we have any questions? I think there are a couple of other things if we have time. Cheryl talk about the care portal, the community development prevention program, collaborative foster program. All of those are things that are so important to the residents of our county. And if we have time to kind of go back to that, but I wanted to see if we had questions or comments.
Yeah, we don't have any human services specific questions. I should use them to say if you do want to ask a question and you're on the phone, you should dial *3. You'll be put through to an operator. We have more general county questions about things like what is happening with redistricting. Can we give an update on that real quickly?
Yeah, there was a redistricting bill, and because of COVID, the census was very delayed. Normally we have census data, which of course then impacts redistricting. You can't know how you're going to redistrict till you get all the numbers from the census. And that information is not going to be available until late this fall. So there was a bill that was going through the legislature that was really, in our minds, pushing this too much for us to be, because there's state redistricting of their, congressional districts. There are House and Senate Colorado legislative seats, and then there are county seats that have to be redistricted in our county. We've grown quite a bit. So that has been delayed until 2023. So that gives us more time to be able to take that census data and put together, as this bill states, there's a committee that we will put together in Arapahoe County with citizens, and we'll form that committee to provide input as to how that redistricting should take place and how to make it fair and impartial. So look for more information on that, but it's been delayed a bit.
Oh, okay. That's good update. I will jump in if we get any other questions, but for now, let's go back to what you were mentioning, the other things that you wanted to ask Cheryl about. And then
Well, Cheryl, you want to talk about, I think, the care portal and foster care collaborative?
So, Care Portal is an initiative that brought the faith-based community together with government to provide special needs to children and families. So, if we experience a special need of a family that we're working with and we're not able to provide it directly, we can actually enter that information into Care Portal, and one of our churches in the faith-based community that makes up Care Portal would respond and take that on. It's been a great experience, and it's really helped meet those very specific needs for families. A great example of government working with our faith-based community to provide assistance.
And
then
the foster care.
Yeah, so the Foster Care Collaborative is one of the only collaboratives in the state where we brought 3 counties together, Arapahoe, Douglas, and Jefferson County, and we combined our foster care program. So we, each of the counties have foster families that we have contracted with to provide foster care. And the really great thing about this is that if we are in need of placing a child or children and we don't have the right home to place them in, the right foster home to place them in, then we can look at homes in Douglas and Jefferson County. So it greatly expands the resources out there in which to be able to place kids in the right type of foster home. We've been doing this now for a little over 10 years, and it works phenomenally well. And each county brings something different to the table to make it a really, really rich foster care program.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. One of the things that we are very fortunate, because we are a large county and we do have a lot. In this case, we're collaborating with other counties to expand families that could be great foster families, and that pool of people who would be involved. But I think one of the things that we are very fortunate to have is a large county with a lot of services and a lot of community organizations that we partner with. We can't do everything ourselves. And as I mentioned earlier, I said Tabor, but for those folks that it's Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and Arapahoe County, our general fund is subject to Tabor, which means we can only grow at a small percentage. And that's based on a couple of factors. And so we can't just grow and continue to add people, which is a good thing. We need to control our spending and do what is most important. And therefore, we rely a lot on our community partnerships. And Cheryl, if you want to talk about two, just real quickly, we have just a minute or so, but I think it's really important to know and how we really develop and partner with these organizations and how that benefits all of our residents.
Absolutely, and specific to our community development and prevention work within child and adult protection, phenomenal work. And basically, when we receive referrals for possible abuse and neglect or an at-risk adult, and it doesn't rise to the level of us needing to intervene, but we can see that there are some needs that this family or individual have, we will connect with a myriad of community agencies that we can refer families and individuals to provide whatever support, whatever type of service might be needed. And we are consistently collaborating with these other, whether it's a nonprofit or another government agency, to be able to make these warm handoffs for families and adults in need. And basically what we're doing is addressing things that need to be addressed so that, in fact, things don't get worse, and then the issues rise to a level where we do have to get involved, because we don't want children or adults to be involved in our system. I mean, we want them to be successful and not have to depend on or be a part of the human services system. So preventing that from happening and working with our community is really imperative, and it's very successful, and we are continuing to grow that all the time.
All right. Well, I have one quick question for Cheryl from the audience. This person in Centennial says, I have a home daycare center in their neighborhood, and the resident sees little kids hanging out without supervision. What should I do? Is that something that should be reported?
Yes, call our hotline, which is on that slide. Yes. Yeah. Definitely call the Child Abuse and Neglect Hotline and just give the information, and we will follow up.
Great. All right. Well, that brings us to the top of the hour. And I want to thank both of you for joining us tonight, and all of you out in the world that have tuned in. We will be doing these events throughout May. And we're going to be looking deeper at departments including community resources, open spaces, public works, and community resources. Did I say that already? Finance is the last one. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.